All right, you're thinking about selling your home and you're wondering, how does that rule change with the realtors that took place in 2024 affect commissions? Well, the question we get pretty often, or at least we did for a few months last year, and we're getting a few this year, do we have to pay a buyer's agent to sell the home? And we're going to answer that question today. If you keep up with the news, you know that back in 2024, there was a lawsuit that took place, and basically it changed the landscape for how commissions work in the real estate industry. So it did cause quite a bit of upheaval. But at the end of the day, the quick answer to your question is yes, sellers are still paying buyer's agents to sell a home. That is still the way commissions work. However, the way we get there is now a little different. Now, the conversation about commissions is happening on both sides of the equation. Buyer's agent and the seller's agent are having conversations with their individual clients about commissions. And the way we end up getting to the commission at the end is a little bit more transparent for the buyer. And it's also something that you have more control over as a seller. So we're seeing commissions remain pretty stable. If you look at the averages, they're about the same as they were before the law changed. However, there's more conversation happening around them. Like I said, quick answer, yes, those sellers are still paying buyer's agents. However, conversations are shaped a little differently now that that change has happened. It's also been reflected in the contracts. The biggest thing to know is that sellers are buyers. So when you get ready to sell a home, you need to know that there's going to be probably a slightly different process for you as a buyer as you move into this market. Before you actually go and view your first home, there's a document you're going to have to get signed up front prior to viewing any homes. And that document is going to stipulate commissions and stuff like that. That is going to be a part of the process. So that will be a change for you if once you get ready to buy a home, you're going to have to sign a document agreeing that your agent is going to be compensated a certain commission. And that's going to be a part of your initial search or your initial trip out to go and tour homes. And the third point is, well, what changed exactly with the commissions? You said the conversations changed. What changed for the seller? Like, are there any changes? Okay, yeah, there are. So whenever you meet up with your agent, used to, you would say, Josh, we're going to give you this commission and you're basically going to break it in half. And then I, as the realtor, am going to give them half of the commission that me and you have negotiated. It doesn't have to be half, but just keep the math and everything simple. So you give me 6%, I take that 6, break it in 2, I give 3% to the other agent that comes, and that's how this works, right? So I am the one being paid 6, and then I am the one paying 3. That would be a broker-to-broker transaction. Well, now what we're doing is having a conversation about what you're going to pay me and what you as the seller are going to pay the other agent. And then that is then being made transparent throughout the process. So when an agent brings a buyer and they make an offer, there's actually 2 different types of commissions available now. There's seller paid commissions, and then there are broker to broker commissions. So if we have an agreement up front that I'm going to be the one paying this agent, that's called a broker to broker, and it's explicit in the contract in a different location. However, if we want to just have a conversation about commission, there's another spot where you can negotiate it as a part of the offer, and it could be a seller paid commission. And we're actually seeing more contracts go with the seller paid commission rather than the broker to broker, so that we can just get it all hashed out with the buyer's agent, seller's agent, all in this part of the contract. And so we're seeing more of that. So it is an ever evolving thing. So things are changing. And I could show you on the contract where it's at and kind of go over some of the strategies with you. But what does it change for the seller? Well, for the seller, it is an item on the contract that has more potential for being negotiated now. So let's just say you get an offer in that you're not happy with. Sometimes you can maybe make a small adjustment to the commission as a way of negotiating that particular item as one among 100 terms that you can negotiate. You'll go down to this price, but the commissions are going to have to be adjusted some. So there are things happening like that in terms of commissions. So with that, I think the big picture is average commissions are about the same. Buyers are still using realtors. 88% of all sales included realtors, which is the same as they were before the rule changed. Sellers are still paying buyer agent fees. Average commissions actually increased by 0.1% since the rule changed. So if anything, commissions have actually gone up just a little bit since the rule changed, which you wouldn't anticipate. A lot of people thought buyer's agents are just going to go away. We're not paying those anymore. That's not the case. So the situation is pretty stable, but the conversations are a little bit more transparent than they used to be. And we thought this video would be helpful, especially if people are thinking about putting their home up for sale in the spring market. Okay, I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We'd love to hear from you.